This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Live from the virtual Nurburgring Grand Prix in Nuremberg, Germany, welcome sim racing fans to the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here on the iRacing Esports Network and presented by Apex Racing TV. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Joining me in the commentary booth is Austin Knight, and down in the control booth is Marco Barbanera. Austin, this track is known for exciting racing both on the Grand Prix layout we're using today and the full layout, and with the drivers struggling all week in these cars on this track, what do you expect from tonight's race?
It's going to be a very interesting and fun change of pace for a lot of our iRacing Esports Network viewers who are currently watching the very practiced and patient Daytona 24 Hours race, and it's going to be a very sprinty race and chaotic race as well here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix layout.
Yeah, always at the Nurburgring, it's always a sprint to the finish. Now let's take a look at these championship standings. Tim DeLisle just seems like week in and week out, he is extending that lead, currently at 1,274 points. At 1,000 points even is Rob Bohr in third place. Edward Samborski with 990 points. Greg Olson with 943. Alexei Sorotkin rounds out your top five in the championship standings. In sixth, it's Lubomir Morik. In seventh, Urka Lindstrom. Eighth, Omar Baha. Ninth, Paul Ilbrink. And 10th, it's Patrick Letavet. And you can see all the way down to P number 18. Austin, we have a couple of these championship contenders in the field tonight. What is kind of their strategy going into this race? Are they going to be a little bit more patient for points, or do they just want to win?
Knowing Tim after last race, he just really wants to win, but he really wants to keep it safe, because after what happened with him at Phillip Island on the first lap, where he had to fight his way back up to a wonderful P3, he just wants to keep it safe and get as much points as he can and try to go for the win. Patrick Letavet is currently through the field right now, lower down than where he wants to be, but he wants to charge up through the field and get as high as he can. All these guys just want a clean first lap, and then they start to get a little bit more dicey with how they get up through the field. But knowing Nurburgring, it always produces great racing. And some crazy incidents as well, especially going into this wonderful turn one, hard on the brakes into a very tight hairpin, almost full lock on the wheel. And then you're into the arena section, which is kind of slower than you expect it to be. So expect a few people to try to force their way through there.
Yeah, and these cars going through slow corners, you just want to get the power down so quickly, but you got to be patient. And patience is key when driving here at the Nürburgring. You're currently looking at Benjamin Sazako making his way through a little bit of a hiccup coming out of the Dunlop curve. You can see that car wiggle as he heads back up through the Michael Schumacher S and into Como curve.
Yeah, Schumacher S, one of my favorite corners here in all of iRacing and all the tracks in the world. It's a very nice crest at the top of the hill. Then you fling down this ravine into this fast right-hander coming up into one of the hardest chicanes on the service. Uphill braking, very tight corners, and very high curves. And then coming up to the Coca-Cola curve.
Yeah, and you'll be hearing us use those turn names a lot. Almost every corner on this track has some sort of nickname that these drivers and the fans give them here at the Nurburgring. So you're going to be hearing that a lot throughout tonight's race, and qualifying just now wrapping up. And no surprise, up at the top of the leaderboard, it's Tim Delisle, your points leader.
You won't hear any more Coca-Cola's opening, by the way. I don't have about 36 around here. I just have one.
You couldn't get more than one, Austin? Come on.
I just bought a 12-pack.
Open all 12.
No, man, I can't drink all of those.
You gotta keep your throat nice and moist to talk. But speaking of talking, I gotta talk about this leaderboard here. The starting grid for today's race: Tim Delisle on the pole with a 1 minute 40.945. Greg Olson in second. In third, it's Steve Honan. Fourth, Rob Crouch. Fifth, Rob Bohr. Sixth, Paul Ilbrink. Seventh, Alexei Sorokin. Eighth, Patrick Letzevet. Ninth, Urka Lindstrom. 10th, Shane Russell. 11th, Omar Baha. And rounding out your top 12 is Nicholas Bradford.
Yeah, following up in P13 is Stefan Chatnow, Luke Groom, Benjamin J. Soko, Ronaldo Augusto, and Joshua Stewart in P17. The field split, so we just have the top 17 I-rated drivers here and ready to go for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship.
And these are some very skilled drivers. I believe the lowest I rating we have is in the 2900s. So all of these drivers are very skilled here on the iRacing service. And they're all skilled in these iRacing Formula 3.5s. As they're sitting on the grid, waiting on a couple more drivers to load in, and then we'll be hitting the lights out.
You might notice a few new looking cars up onto the grid. That's because a few of our drivers gave us a few new paints. That is a lovely paint for Patrick Leovet. I'm in love with that car. That's just a beautiful car.
A lot of wonderful paint schemes on these cars. Personally, I'm a fan of just the plain Renault paint scheme in the back of the field, representing Formula 1 team. And here we go. The lights are up. They'll go. 5 red lights, tires spinning. Let's go racing.
Oh, very bad start from Honan. Almost stalled on the grid. Cars going off the track around him, but almost stalled and out of nowhere. But oh no! That is Greg
2 cars
Olson
off,
spinning around as it was Olson and I think Crouch who got into each other.
I think Crouch also missed the corner completely there. Some trouble at the beginning of this race, but now they're going to make their way through RTL and into the Ford curve. In the lead, it's still Tim Delisle, Paul Ilbrink right behind.
That was a dive bomb and a half by Rob Crouch going down the inside. I believe he just may have locked it up right there and got into the side of Tim Delisle's teammate. Let's take a replay. And yeah, Rob Crouch just very late on the brakes and unfortunately gets to the side, kept it out of the wall, get another view up from the chopper. Just, oh, that's net code and a half.
Yeah, and it also looked like Rob Crouch was trying to late break there, trying to get an edge on the driver in front of him, and it unfortunately ended in a wreck for one of them, and he went off track. So he ended up off the track too, and another one spun on the back. That's Rob Bohr.
P2 in the championship, only 200 points behind Tim Delisle.
Looked like there might have been some more contact behind Rob Bohr when he was come back on, and he makes contact once again.
Well, there's contact now. Bam on the... Bam indeed. Rob Bohr down into P17. Patrick Leovet trying to come back up. Let's take a view from Patrick Leovet's perspective as he's coming up through these S curves.
Yeah, he's making his way up through the Michael Schumacher S there, up towards Como curve. And you can see Rob Bohr just not knowing he's there, came down on him. Doesn't look like a lot of damage for Patrick Letzevet, but still just ran out of room was Rob Bohr. Now we're on lap number 2 of this motor race. Tim Delisle making his way through the first corner, the Castrol S, and up through the Mercedes Arena and back for another lap here at the Nurburgring.
Shane Russell in a good old fight. Steven Chantel going too wide. You just see how wide everyone's taking that corner. He's trying to maximize as much speed, but everyone still 2-3 wide here in the lower arena part. It's just so slow speed. You can just use every part of the track, but if you just get on the throttle, these cars are so sensitive, you can almost spin out right there. But Greg
Yes,
Olson has had a great view, and he really wants to pull back up through the grid. And oh, there's a car spinning up in front of him, and Olson is back up. Car being spun around was Soko. Oh, no, that was Steve Honan.
Steve Honan had trouble on the start and having trouble on lap 2. What I was going to say right there before Honan went around was, it seems like the slipstream and the draft from each of these cars is possibly a little bit more extreme here at the Nürburgring with these high speeds. And Shane Russell almost ran Bradford out of room there, coming up through the Michael Schumacher S.
Russell using a little bit of blocking, but we've seen Bradford before use that to his advantage. DRS is being used by Russell. You can tell if DRS is being used if that little slit underneath the wing is closed, and now it's open. That means DRS is inactive.
Yeah, DRS acts like push to pass in IndyCar. They have a certain amount of charge. I believe 8 charges they will have to use. So they're going to have to conserve them for later in the race, but we know some drivers use them a lot at the beginning. Some drivers save them all for the end. So it all depends on how the driver feels comfortable using it. We're on lap 3 here at the Nürburgring. We got a battle for P number 5. Bradford down to the inside of Russell, heading into the Castrol S.
It's going to be all about the braking right here. Bradford setting it right there, but here comes Russell on the switchback, going all around the outside into the arena, but Bradford held him off nicely right there.
Through the Mercedes arena, down through turns 4 and 5 and onto RTL. Russell now sitting P number 6, trying to get back on Bradford. A nice long straight here, and they'll have another straight after they come off of the Ford curve, heading down towards Dunlop.
Yeah, Russell's going to try to sit in that draft and apply a lot of pressure. The fight behind him with Luke Groom, Sirotkin, and Stuart Crouch is just absolutely nuts. 4 ways for the battle for 7th. Sirotkin all over the back of Groom as Bradford and Russell are going up through the Schumacher S.
Luke Groom getting a nice slipstream off of Sirotkin.
Oh, and it gets
Wait,
past
7.
Stewart.
Who dived up there? Was that Stewart? Joshua Stewart. What
Stewart
a dive,
out
but
of
it
nowhere.
worked. It worked. He's still side by side with Groom.
The side was for position, but he just went off track. He didn't send it completely off the track, but what a move by Stewart to get it up there. A little bit too aggressive. He's going to send it into the braking zone, into the chicane. He's going to hold that inside line.
He
turns
him.
around goes
That's
Groom,
Luke
and
Groom.
he's stuck on the curbs, and Cars is going off the track,
Also
trying
off
to
track
avoid him.
too. What a race
is
this
this?
is turning out to be. We're only on lap 4 here. Got turn, more cars going off track to miss it. What a turn of events is happening in this race. We are not even 5 laps done with this motor race, and we're already, seems like every 2 seconds we're turned into another wreck.
Completely different racing than the Daytona 24 Hours today, and Luke Groom has missed turn 1. So this just a lockup?
Oh, it seems like missed shifts,
Yes.
maybe.
Front right lockup.
Looks like a little bit of a lockup too as well. Let's event in a battle with a couple of other drivers, and he got, oh, he's nice save. A good drifting save from Patrick Letzevet. Marco, can you stop turning to people right as they wreck? What is going on, Marco?
I've heard of commentators cursing, but not broadcasting cursing.
Yeah, we have broadcasters curse here on the iRacing Esports Network.
This is a crazy, crazy race, and this is great news if you're Tim DeLisle, because he's just flying away from the field like usual, but the entire field is just crashing behind him. We got 5-second gaps already to a lot of people. Look at the gap from 3rd to 4th, 5 seconds.
Yeah, 3rd, P1, 2, and 3 are really pulling away. That's Tim DeLisle, Paul Ilbrink, and Rico Lindstrom. All of them in the top 10 of the point standing, so it's no surprise why they're pulling away. But everybody in the back, this almost seems like a NASCAR race at Daytona or Talladega. Everybody right up on each other's bumper and even hitting somebody.
They say Rubbin's race, but that doesn't work well in open wheel cars, as we see Steven Chatnow flying down the straight, but a late dive by Leo Vetz, and Leo Vetz going to swing it around. and keep that position. And wow, that was a big old dive.
Seems like drivers are still having a lot of issue making their way through turn number 1. It is such a hard braking zone, and you want to keep speed up in these cars and not go so slow around these corners, but you really have to be patient here at the Nurburgring. Russell now in a battle with Sorokin for P number 6. And another one around, that's Benjamin Sazako. I believe that's his second spin of the day. Looks like he was also in a battle with another driver.
That's Greg Olson.
There's Olson. He's had his own number of issues so far in this race. Got up on the curves. This is making his way through turns 3.
This is just a throttle. Yeah, missed just a throttle right there.
We'll be back in P number 16. Again, Ronaldo Augusto fighting Greg Olson. Augusto keeping Olson at bay pretty well here, as it looks like they're making their way onto the straightaway right before the Michael Schumacher S. No, that was actually coming off a bit curve, and they just went through Hatzenbeck's. Now they'll head into the chicane of Vidal.
Great move by Greg Olson. Heading into that chicane, and he's actually still pulling away. Going to fly up to the bound for 6 2 Sorokin and Russell. Sorokin down onto the inside. Russell round the outside, but Sorokin, he's got that apex, and what a move down the inside for P6.
And a great one from Sorokin. Any move down into turn number 1 is most of the time worth it. Chantal, looks like he had another lockup there. He didn't lose much time, but here comes Olson now up into P number 13. Olson is marching his way through the field.
Yeah, I expect Greg Olson to do what his teammate Tim Delisle did at Phillip Island and make a charge back up to the top 5 in these 23 laps. So he is a excited car to be watching as Chantal has a little bit of a lockup through that corner. And
Is that
here
Olson locking
comes
up the back
Olson.
tires? It looks
No,
like
it
Olson
was-
was locked up.
Don't believe it was.
Taking a look at the lap comparison, Olson definitely way faster. That was actually a comparison of your leader, Tim Delisle. Olson a couple seconds behind Delisle. Tim Delisle just set the best lap of the race last time by a 142.27 seconds.
Ooh, Chantal's caught off a little bit. Olson's applying pressure. He's got him where he wants it. Made it past this exact spot last lap. He's in the slipstream. DRS is being used by Chantal. Olson not using DRS. He's just going to save up that free charge and let Chantal drag him along onto the front straight.
Chantal really dived it into that chicane there, getting right up on the curves. Didn't look like it gained him a little bit of time, but also didn't look like it hurt him at all.
You gotta sometimes hop the curves, and now here comes Olson. DRS activated. This should be a very easy pass. Going down to the inside, late on the brakes, diving it in for P12. Oh no!
Oh, he's off track. Chancel
bit of a
getting right
wobble.
back to it. They're side by side. Right through the Mercedes arena. Olson on the inside. Chancel gonna keep the position of P number 12 so far now on Greg Olson. Olson went for it and went a little bit off track coming off of turn number 1. Austin Olson had to go for it, but it looks like he was not
The
checked
front
up
right
enough.
locked up. Oh, that corner is so tricky because there's a drop off on the apex, and if you just hold the brake just a little bit too hard, that front tire just loses all sense of grip and all sense of momentum, and it will lock up very easily and just send that car without the grip sending off into the wall. And that's what happened right there with Greg Olson.
On board with Olson, just went up through the Michael Schumacher S in a couple curve. It looks like he's gonna go to the inside. No, he had a look there, decided against it. Not coming through bit curve. They'll make their way down to Hatzenbeck's. This is such a high speed part of the racetrack. No DRS for Chantal. I'm wondering if we have some DRS for Olson, 'cause he is gaining on him right to the left side of Chancel. And diving to the inside, heading into Vidal. Now in P number 12, it's Greg Olson, and he's going to keep that spot.
Great move by Greg Olson. Now up to P12, but he's going to have to defend around Coca-Cola corner and down the front straight. And he's under attack now by Channel, who's in that draft, but Channel's not attacking at all, not using DRS. He's just going to sit in that draft and try to close in on him as much as he can. But Greg Olsen still in P12 for the rest of this lap. And he's got Patrick Leovet ahead of him in P11.
Yeah, Olsen now trying to chase down Patrick Letevet. Tim Delisle still leading the way. Ilbrink still in second. Lindstrom still in third. Omar Baja in fourth. And rounding out your top 5 is Nicholas Bradford. 6th is Alexei Sorokin. 7th, Shane Russell. 8th, Joshua Stewart. 9th, Rob Crouch. Rounding out your top 10 is Rob Bohr. A lot of drivers mixing up the positions here. Greg Olsen, your biggest... Sorry, he's not your biggest loser of the race. And as he gets a little loose there coming off of the corner, your biggest loser of this race, losing 12 positions, is Steve Honan. Started in P number 3, has lost 12 positions. Your biggest gain is Omar Baja and Nicholas Bradford, both gaining 7 positions since the start of this race.
We are going to talk about Joshua Stewart, who's up 8 positions right now, are we?
Oh, he is up 8 positions.
8's
He
bigger than
definitely
7.
is.
Oh, but
Oh,
Stewart goes through
contact!
the chicane, and Rob Bohr gets into the back of Joshua Stewart. No front wing damage that I can see. These cars are a little bit more robust than the other single-seaters here on iRacing, so you can get a little bit more rough with them. But they're just so much more finicky to master.
I think Rob Bohr might have a list of laps that he didn't have any contact on that's shorter than the laps of he did. Rob Bohr is just hitting everything out there like he's playing bumper cars at the state fair. But Crouch doing a good job keeping this position from Stewart and Bohr. Of course, you saw Stewart back up into Bohr last time by. Now Crouch screaming down the straightaway. They'll head down towards Dunlop. Now making their way into Dunlop is Omar Baja, Nicholas Bradford, and Alexei Sorokin. All 3 of these drivers together. Urko Lindstrom a little bit further up the track, along with Tim Delisle and Paul Ilbrink. All of them pulling away from the rest of this pack. The number 8 of Omar Baja is doing a good job of protecting that P number 4 position from Bradford. And Bradford goes off track. Once again, the broadcaster curse is in effect as Bradford went off track. Didn't lose much time, but still... Any time off track is not good time.
Yeah, a little bit of track overextending. Hopping up onto those curbs definitely upsets the car, but he's kept the car pointed forward as Greg Olsen has got Leovet locked in and ready to go. Here comes Olsen diving down to the inside. Who's going to be last to late breakers? Olsen, Leovet. Olsen sends it into the chicane, and he gets P11 in the braking zone.
Olsen is marching his way through the field. And Honan making a good pass on the number 10 of Ronaldo Augusto. Augusto falling back to P number 15. Nice pass into the chicane there. And cloud cover just coming over the Nurburgring. Austin, this is really the first time this season we've seen weather change like this. Now that the track is covered in clouds, what are these drivers reacting to now differently?
More grip. That's what they're going to be mainly reacting to. The clouds have come in a few times this season. I believe at Phillip Island the clouds came in. But the track is going to start cooling down. The air temperature and track temperature are pretty much the same right now, both at 18 degrees Celsius in the air, 19 on the road. But this is going to come into handy later on in the race as the track starts to cool from the lack of sunlight.
Yeah, I'm wondering how long these clouds are going to stick around, because if these clouds stick around for long enough, this entire back half of this race is going to be run on almost a completely different weather and track than we started this race on. So we could see a couple drivers get a little bit faster, but blocking Rob Bohr is Joshua Stewart. I don't know if that's really the best move. You do not want to block Rob Bohr, especially with the amount of cars he made contact with today.
Oh, a little bit
contact! Rob Bohr said, "See you later" to Joshua Stewart. He did not want to have any of that.
Stewart got the death wiggle out, coming out of that chicane. Just kissed the curb. No, he didn't even kiss the curb. It's just a little bit, too aggressive coming out of that corner. Snap oversteer right ahead of Rob Bohr. Rob Bohr had nowhere to go. He was already on that gearbox. And Stewart gets just tapped and spun around. Very unfortunate for Joshua Stewart.
I lost track of how many times we've seen contact this race. It's definitely a lot. I'm gonna have to go back to the replay and see how much contact and wrecks we've had this race. It is insane, but keeping out of trouble is Tim DeLisle and Paul Ilbrink. You saw that your top two, and now going off track is Greg Olson taking the spot back. Taking the spot was Rob Bohr, but now back on the inside through Mercedes Arena. Olson will keep P number 9, but Rob Bohr wants it, and he wants it now.
Greg Olson's pace is on a different level compared to Rob Bohr, but Bohr is all up in that draft. He's going to have to make it up into these corners and in the braking zones from Bohr. Bohr going wide, coming out of that corner. See the different lines that Olson and Bohr are taking, and Olson has pulled out a pretty substantial gap in just 3 corners. Let's watch this replay of the overtake. Olson setting it on to the inside, going a little bit wide, another lockup, and coming into the arena side by side. You actually want to be on the outside because it brings you the inside corner on the upcoming 2 turns in the Mercedes Arena. So Olson, good track position right there.
Olson's been doing a great job of making up track position. He had a little bit of trouble off the start. Now as the sun starts to come back out here in Nurburgring, Germany, track gonna change once again. We are just over halfway done with this race. Tim DeLisle, your leader, in second. Paul Ilbrink, third. Urkel Lindstrom, fourth. Omar Baha. And you're looking at Alexei Sirotkin right now, battling for P number 5 with Shane Russell.
He went
Wow,
around
that's actually with Nicholas Bradford.
Yeah, Bradford went around the outside of Coca-Cola corner, trying to gain the speed off the exit. It worked for him just a bit, but Sirotkin had the advantage down the straight with that DRS and the draft on Bradford.
Making our way past halfway here on lap number 12. Only 23 laps in this race. A bit of a sprint race, but when you really consider how long these laps are, it is a bit of a long race in terms of timed distance. 142.25 is the fastest lap on the track so far. And that is by your leader, Tim DeLisle. As Tim continues to pull away, you're looking at this scrap for P number 10 back here.
Look at the bow behind him. Levitt and Stewart having a good old scrap trying to chase down on Chatnell. And Levitt, Stewart, and Honan. Those 3 cars that you can see right now. A little bit of smoke from Levitt's car. That's all fine and dandy. A very minor lockup on his case.
Making their way back onto the back straightaway of the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. Through Como Curve into Bit Curve, and they'll make their way through Hatzenbecks. Patrick Letzavet trying to chase down Steven Chancel. And this entire group of 5 just in a draft with each other. Rob Bohr leading the way to the inside. It's Steven Chancel into Vidal.
Whoa!
And what the
Stewart? Stewart lost control. I think he got into the side of Honan and got into the grass of the braking zone.
Joshua Stewart just flew into the camera. Unexpected, but a welcome surprise as he makes his way off track.
Oh, he got punted.
Everybody just got stacked up going into the chicane there.
Oh, that was Honan.
That was Steve Honan. That beautiful chrome purple paint job is now looking a bit dirty from that gravel, and Bohr's into pit lane.
He might have damage.
Yeah, we haven't seen a pit stop really, unless it's for damage this whole season.
Or fuel. He may have,
I think he got tires and fuel. Yeah, he got 4 tires and fuel there. I don't know why.
Did he get a puncture?
I didn't even think you could get punctures in iRacing.
You can. He's on new tire very sudden. You can't get a puncture.
Very possible. Suddenly clouds have gone all over the racetrack. Looking at this replay. Oh, there we go. So there we go. Now we're looking at the right replay. Let's see what happened. I didn't think he hit anything. He just turned into pit lane.
He got very slow off the exit. There's a small chance that he did get a puncture.
If he did get a puncture, that's definitely going to hurt him now. He's all the way back down into P number 17. He is in last place in this race. Definitely don't know exactly what happened there, but cloud cover coming back over the racetrack as we go back live. Looking at Shane Russell. Rob Crouch to the inside, looking for the pass for P number 7. It looks like Crouch is going to grab that spot.
Gonna go back to this replay, throw it into slow motion,
I
and
wonder if we can see the puncture from the replay. I don't believe we can.
it
It also
it's
didn't
all
look
about,
like anybody hit him.
It's all about car performance, really. Because the car started bouncing around right here.
It's very possible it might be on the other side of the car.
Yeah,
on
that's
the,
right here.
I believe it is. It looked like left rear almost. Hopefully we'll be able
Oh,
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
and he was
does
loose
that.
coming into pit road too.
Back
Hopefully
right.
we'll be able to get Rob Bohr in here post race and see exactly what happened. But we believe it was a tire puncture. Very possible because he has spun a lot this race. From that time, going into that chicane, a lot of pressure is on those tires. These Michelin Racing slicks can only take so much pressure.
I think that's the first for us. We've never seen a tire go off during a race, especially in the Formula 3.5s. This has been a first for us.
Looking at Patrick Lettevet, he just completely went off track there, but it looks like Chantal in front of him also had a little bit of issues. And Augusto going off track as well.
Taking an off-track excursion, jumping through the dirt like it's Dakar.
It was. I think he might have thought he was here for Rallycross. And we did talk about this before the race. We talked about how everybody on the forums was saying that they're struggling on this track, and we talked about it pre-race. And we're seeing it exactly pan out here. Almost every driver, except for maybe the top 4 or 5, are having some sort of issue this race.
Stewart in a fight with Luke Groom coming through Coca-Cola corner. Both these guys struggling for grip. Just saw that snap oversteer by Stewart. And oh! Paul Ilbrink, P2 is in the wall. And here comes Erica Lindstrom.
Ilbrink with a spin. Lindstrom says, let me capitalize on that. Chasing him down. They're making their way. Looks like into Cumbo curve. They'll head into bit curve. Good passing opportunities there, but no passes being able to be completed. Now onto the long straightaway and the arch of Hatzenbecks. Not getting the pass done. Heading into Vidal, the chicane. Ilbrink still going to keep the spot.
Ilbrink's keeping the spot, but Lindstrom is smelling the blood because they had that long front straight available to him, and Lindstrom is going to activate DRS right here and go on full attack, but Ilbrink is actually activating DRS as well as the defense. They're just having a straight-up drag race now. Great defensive measures by Ilbrink to use DRS as Lindstrom's using it to minimize the draft sent to Lindstrom.
And you can see the gaps on the left side of your screen there. Tim Delisle in a world of his own right now. I think he might be in a completely different country. 12 seconds ahead of second place, Paul Ilbrink. Everybody else kind of within a decent amount of each other.
All right, so this is what happened to Paul Ilbrink. Gets onto the curb, and it's a soft tap into the wall, so don't expect a lot of damage from there. And on board with Augusto and Honan side by side. Honan going down onto the inside for P12.
We've seen Augusto make a couple moves on drivers so far this race. Ilbrink now pulling away from Lindstrom once again. The gap was down to around 0.3, 0.4 seconds. Now we're going to closer to 1 second between those two drivers. Rob Bohr and Luke Groom battling for P number 16. Did Luke Groom also pit? How did Luke Groom end up back there?
Luke Groom's been down the order, but Groom has not gone into pits. The only driver into the pits has been Rob Bohr on lap 12.
Oh, Groom completely overshot turn 1. Yeah, complete overshoot from turn 1 for Luke Groom, and that is how Rob Bohr is able to reel him in. I believe also Rob Bohr with he has insanely fresh tires from pitting just a couple laps ago. Oh, and he also spun. That was not the end of it. Went off in turn 1, spun, and then went off in turn 1 again. That's how he ended up back in P number 17 behind Rob Bohr. But like I was saying, Rob Bohr has insanely fresh tires after pitting a couple of laps ago. So Rob Bohr is using those fresh Michelin tires to his advantage. Fresh tires are very important here with this new tire model. Ilbrink keeping P number 2 from Tim Delisle, but like I said, Delisle just in a complete world of his own right now.
In the strength of field 4.1 thousand iRating race, it's been a very chaotic race, especially in these opening laps. So many incidents, so many spins, even a tire puncture. And Nurburgring just brings out some craziness happening. It's especially what we're not used to in the Formula 3.5 series.
Dare I say, a little more exciting than the 24 hours of Daytona. Looking at Omar Baja, he's been keeping this P number 4 position ever since the start. He gained 7 spots off the start of this race from a lot of the crashes and contact that happened. He's been keeping P number 4 all to himself. Alexei Sirotkin behind, but not close enough to make a move on Baja.
Oh, Steven Chatnell's going slow. Coming through pit curve right before there. Got onto the curb and just overshot that turn. Snap oversteer and then correction. Ooh, big ol' slide lockup. Sliding around, and here comes Patrick Vet, seeing blood and getting a free position out of there. Top 10. Greg Olson still on his charts through the field on P8. That's Bradford ahead of him. And that orange car is familiar to Olson because Crouch and Olson had a big contact going into turn 1. 3 wide. And Crouch laid onto the brakes, gets it to the side of Olson, and that's what sent Olson down the field to the position he is at right now. So if anything, he wants revenge to get past that orange car. Bradford, a little bit of a risky exit. Here comes Olson.
Olson has been doing a great job today. We talked about it. He's wrecked numerous times during this motor race, but right now he is up in P number 8, challenging for P number 7. I mean, he just has a great car right now and some great driving skills. Olson, there's a reason that he has 5,794 iRating in his car number 3. He is insanely quick and is trying to make a move on Nicholas Bradford as they make their way through Bit Curve and down Hatzenbecks.
Our live iRating points showing up right now. Person to be getting the most right now is P4 of Alexei Sirotkin, getting 63 iRating. As we missed Greg Olson setting up the inside into the chicane, and ooh, big old wiggle right there, but Olson P7 and now chasing down Crouch.
There's a possibility he might march his way all the way back up to P number 5 and get a top 5 finish here from Greg Olson. Diving up the inside of Baja, it's Crouch, and he contacted. It looks like there might have been a little bit, and off goes Rob Crouch. Crouch is off track right off of the Castrol S.
Crouch and turn 1 and sending it have never been a good mix. Back end contact, he got the move done, but just on the exit, just losing a little bit of control, getting into Omar Baja side by side, and the American challenging him, and then that's just a wide exit and just throttled out, ended up into the grass, avoids the barrier, but Crouch down into P9. Greg Olson, one word, karma.
Olson right behind Omar Baja now. He started the race in P number 2, and I don't believe he'll be able to get all the way back up there, but what a saying it is for Greg Olson. I believe he might have been around P number 15 or 16 earlier in this race right off the start, and now as we'll make their way to 3 laps to go next time by, he is up in P number 6, battling Baja for P number 5, and he is going for the position through Bex down into Vidal. Will he get it? Diving up the inside, and Greg Olsen will take P number 5 into the top 5. Goes the driver out of Australia.
He's back in the top 5. Next in line is Alexei Sirotkin. But what a recovery drive we are seeing from Greg Olsen. First, it was his teammate Tim DeLisle last week at Phillip Island, who went from last place back into P3. And now it's a Greg Olsen show, who went from last place to a few places up, last place again, and back up into P5.
I'm wondering their lap time comparison here between the two. Alexei Sirotkin might be a little bit slower than Greg Olsen. He has a slower best lap. And let's see. Yeah, Olsen much faster each time by from Sirotkin. So very possible that Greg Olsen makes his way past his teammate of Alexei Sirotkin in the 9.
Side by side at the front straight, Suzuko and Stewart going side by side into the Mercedes arena. Stewart around the outside, Suzuko onto the inside. Still side by side. Stewart's going to have the advantage in this next corner. Stewart is going to snatch it, but on the exit, here comes Suzuko. Suzuko dancing on that gearbox, diving it down to the inside, but he just, tried to sell it, dominate into the braking zone. Stewart, great hold off into P14.
A lot of these drivers in the bottom half of this field have had a lot of issues during this race here at the Nurburgring, but they have all done a great job. We have no retirees in this race, and that is a commend to each driver in this field that even after a wreck, even after a spin, even after some contact, they're able to regroup and rebound. We have had nobody leave this race. Everybody that has started this race is looking to finish it, and we have 3 laps remaining in this motor race. And Olsen is within striking distance of Sirotkin. He is on a mission for P number 4.
1.5 seconds separates Olsen and Sirotkin with just 2 laps remaining. Olsen's last lap was a 1:42.75, almost a 0.75 seconds faster than Sirotkin. He will catch him at the end of the race, but can he get the overtake on the Central Eastern European driver?
Yeah, and Olsen much faster than Sirotkin each time by. Just a matter of time before he tries to make that pass. Is he going to do it down into the Dunlop? No, he is not going to. And you can see just consistently each lap the gap getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Looks like a staircase there, Austin.
It's just constantly at the same angle, too. Just shows you how consistent Olsen is, especially in clean air. He was in dirty air for most of the time and in traffic. That's why the lap 15 is a little bit steeper. But just look at that jump from lap 16 to lap 17. That's when the pace was turned on by Greg Olsen. As they're coming up to chicane, this is where Olsen's been shining and making most of his moves into the braking zone. Live gap just dropped under 1 second. That's going to bring up our battle box. And Nicholas Bradford has gone straight on through the chicane. And there's a code being murdered right there. And speaking of
right
murdered,
into Baja. Right into Omar Baja. And it looks like Baja's going to need to slow down a little bit there after cutting that chicane. But we have 2 laps to go in this race. Crouch trying to make a move on Bradford and Baja now, the two drivers that made contact last time by. But Sirotkin has a mirror full of Olsen. I believe they are under a second between each other now. They are right next to each other as they head down. Coming off of the Ford curve now through the sweeping straightaway. They're just now heading into turn number 6 and the Ford curve, and they'll make their way down the straightaway and into Dunlop.
Olsen knows he has 2 laps left to make this move count, and he knows where he is faster. He's going to try to scare Sirotkin as much as he can and try to get a freebie before forcing his hand and forcing the move. White flag is out for Tim Delisle as he has a very, very cruising last lap as he is 16 seconds ahead of Paul Ilbrink.
Yeah, domination, again, it's just the word that you look up Tim Delisle in the dictionary and domination's there. You look up domination in the dictionary and Tim Delisle is there. Just, he is so strong in these iRacing Formula 3.5s. There's a reason he is leading the point standings by 274 points. And there's a reason he is leading today here at the Nurburgring. Olsen trying to get past Sirotkin.
Olsen's got
striking distance. He just needs to get down there.
He's got DRS Sirotkin, use DRS to defend Olsen, going into the chicane, and Olsen, that played directly into his hand, but because Sirotkin couldn't use it again because he got into that DRS charge cooldown. He can't use it within a few seconds of each other, and both DRS zones are right next to each other here. So it's one or the other, but it's front wing to gearbox racing between Sirotkin and Olsen for P4 here at Nurburgring for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship.
And Tim Delisle is just about to cross the start-finish line and get the win on this race. Through Vital, down into the Coca-Cola curve. There's a reason he's car number one, because he is number one today. Your winner at the Nurburgring Grand Prix, Tim Delisle. And across the start-finish line he goes. His last lap, the fastest one, a 141.51. And around goes Omar Baja on the last lap.
Baja hard into the wall.
Oh
Crazy
my
rejoin,
goodness.
and here comes Honan and Steve Shannon. Nicholas Bradford almost gets collected in there.
No contact, but Sirotkin and Olsen are making their way onto the start-finish straight. Into the Coca-Cola curve. Can Olsen get by? No, Sirotkin gonna cover through the final corner. Sirotkin, P number 4. Olsen takes P number 5 after marching his way up through the field all race.
Great recovery drive by Olsen. Nothing to be ashamed of. All the way down at the end of the field twice to get a P5. Something not to be frowned upon. And the car that caused all of it finished behind him. That's a win in Greg Olsen's book. Not standing on the podium or anything, but he did finish ahead. This is what happened to Omar Baja. Just very excited coming out of the Schumacher S's, locked up and went hard into the barrier. And then this crazy rejoin, almost collecting Leo Vet right there.
Yeah, Baja just getting a little bit loose, but it's the rejoin. Just came right back onto the track. Nobody expecting it. Unfortunately, nobody made contact with him, but let a vet just having a swerve at the last minute there. But everybody has crossed the start-finish line, and we've concluded another Formula 3.5 race, this time here at the Nürburgring GP. Let's take a look at your finishing results. Tim Delisle, no surprise, ending up in victory lane. P number 1 for the Australian, Paul Ilbrink in 2nd, Urka Lindstrom in 3rd, Alexei Sirotkin in 4th, Greg Olsen in 5th, Shane Russell 6th, Nicholas Bradford in 7th, 8th, Rob Crouch, 9th, Patrick Letzavet. Rounding out your top 10 is Steve Honan, 11th, Steven Chancel, 12th, Omar Baja, 13th, Ronaldo Augusto, 14th, Rob Bohr, 15th, Joshua Stewart, 16th, Benjamin Sazako, and rounding out your field in 17th, Luke Groom. Everybody ending on the lead lap, and everybody that started this race coming across the start-finish line and not in the pits. Austin, an exciting race to say the least. A lot of contact, a lot of wrecks. What is your opinion on this?
What just happened?
A lot happened in the span of 23 laps there.
A lot definitely did happen, and our interviews are coming in right now, but
I'm hoping we'll be able to get Rob Bohr in here.
It was very easy for the top 3 because they didn't have a lot to worry about. And then if you're anywhere else in top 3 is just man the hatches. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to war, and let's bring in Greg Olsen. because he was the man here today. Howdy, 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 Greg. How are you doing?
I'm feeling very tired.
You certainly must be because turn one is just getting absolutely murdered right there and having to fight your way just like your teammate did last week at Phillip Island to get back up into the top five. How was that?
Look, it was pretty hard. Not only did the first corner happen, which was unfortunate, but there was another incident out of the NGK chicane, which put me back to last as well. I had to take evasive action. So, yeah, it was hard work, but it was, in retrospect, I'm sure I'll enjoy it. It was good fun.
It certainly was great entertainment for us up here in the booth. Last week was the Tim Delisle show. Now it's the Greg Olson show. Next week going to be a hopefully better week for you. What are you thinking of next week?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Last time we raced Barcelona, I did quite a few races because I really enjoyed the track, and yeah, hopefully can just get a clean race in. But I'm just happy to have finished, to be honest, because I guess it did happen again last week, and I wasn't able to continue. So yeah, just happy to be in the top five.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Before we let you go, do you have anyone you would like to shout out?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Positive Sim Racing and all my teammates and our partners. Once again, the car was really competitive this week, and yeah, hopefully I can prove it out next week. Oh,
Awesome.
and thank
Thank
you to
you.
you guys.
Thank you. And
Thank
thank
you
you for
very
giving
much.
us a great show. And you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Well, next, I really want to grab the winner of this race into here, Tim Delisle. Tim, we've had you in. I think every time you have raced on this time slot, you have been in here and been in victory lane. What is it like, again, just dominating in these Formula 3.5s?
Yeah, it was a good race. It was pretty different to last week, where I had to sort of fight back through the field. But yeah, this week just everything went to plan. For me at least, like Greg alongside me into turn one, that was a bit scary, but I managed to avoid it luckily, and from there it was pretty good.
Yeah, and you led every lap of this race and you kind of checked out. Were you nervous about possibly making a mistake? Because we saw pretty much every other driver other than you make a mistake a lot on this track and ended up either spinning or making contact.
Earlier in the week, I would have said yes, but I've done a ridiculous amount of practice this week. Just because, sort of at the start of the week, I was struggling a bit and I just really wanted to have it nailed. So, yeah, I've put in a lot of time and I was fairly.
Yeah, and you had just an amazing race out there. And this track, like you said earlier in the week, you were struggling. What was it about this track that you really just couldn't nail down in these things?
There's like a thing with the new tires that they just seem bouncier than before, and so if you're going over corners with quite a lot of bumps, it really unsettles the car, especially through turn one in particular, where it sort of dips down at the apex. If you sort of take the regular apex, you just end up like a pogo stick, and it's really easy to spin. So you sort of have to learn an alternative line to take through there, and then there's sort of the chicane and the final corner as well are very bumpy. So yeah, it's just really easy to lose the rear.
Yeah, and you're leading the points series, of course, with 1200 over 1200 points. You're gonna add more to that now with this win. Are you in that hunt for the points championship? Is that something you're going after? Or is that just something that's kind of coming naturally?
No, that's definitely been my goal since day one. So yeah, so far so good, I guess. We'll see how the rest of the season.
Yeah, you're definitely doing amazing on it right now. Anyone else you would like to thank?
Just the team, Positive Sim Racing, you guys for the coverage, and I just want to say again, bad luck to Greg because he did a great job in qualifying, and then just I don't know if you guys watched the replay of it, but the net code was just ridiculous. So yeah, really bad luck to him, but it was a good fight back through the field.
Thank you very much, Tim. We're going to let you head back to the interview waiting area. We're going to bring in our last interview of the night, P number 3, Paul Ilbrink. Good evening, Paul.
Hello.
P2.
Sorry, P2 finisher, Paul Ilbrink. Paul, you had a good night. You were battling a little bit with the drivers up in the top 5, but Tim Delisle kind of checked out. Were you focusing on catching Tim Delisle, or were you just focusing on protecting your position that you had?
Well, like I was kind of focusing on the fastest lap of the race, to be honest. Like Tim was already so far ahead once I got up to pace, and he like my lap times then got a bit closer to him. And unfortunately, I pushed a bit too hard and ran a bit wide. Didn't want to lift because I was on a good lap, and then like hit a wall, which almost cost me P2. But luckily, I didn't get any damage from that, and I could just finish it in seconds.
Austin, any questions you got for Mr. Paul Ilbrink here?
Going into turn 1 when he saw Greg Olson and Rob Crouch going in there side by side, you back off a lot, and what prayers did you say to get through that alive?
Well, none, but yeah, like I don't know what it is with this track and car combination at the moment, but it's like it suffers from like a bouncing issue. It seems if you get a really tight turn 1, it's already like difficult to keep the car on the tarmac and not spin. But so I was a bit wary for turn 1, and yeah, to be honest, I thought it was Tim again when I saw that positive sim racing car spin off, but it was his teammate this time. But yeah, I don't know. The car's pretty much moved out of the way, and I could just continue and get P2 for free after terrible qualifying. But yeah, just lucky, I guess.
Yeah, well, luck was definitely on your side with that P2. Gonna swing it back to Josh.
Paul, you had a good race all through, and you're currently sitting 9th in the point standing. Sorry to look at my notes. 9th in the point standing, 786 points. A lot of the drivers up ahead of you have a lot more points than you. Of course, Tim Delisle leading the way with over 1,200. Are you focusing on points, or are you just focusing on good finishes, race in and race out?
I'm not focusing too much on the points. Like this is pretty much your only race in the week where you can get points. So I just try to show up here and get a good result. Like, and to be fair, like Tim is a tiny bit quicker than me anyway, so I don't get my hopes up that way. But I just try to do a good race, finish on the podium, and then maybe get a podium finish, top 3 finish in the end as well.
Anyone you would like to thank before you let you go?
Sure. I want to thank all my teammates at Radicals Online and our partners and sponsors: Cranfield Simulation, Joe Real Timing, Arma Center, Asta Sim Race, Motiv Podcast, Turn Racing, Sim Mortal, Six Sideways, and Pixel.
Thank
And
you
you
very
guys
much
for doing the broadcast, of course.
Thank you very much, Paul. We'll let you go here. Austin, an exciting 23 laps ending with some good interviews here. Overall, this race was chaos, carnage, but at the same time, it was music.
Music to our ears, definitely a very entertaining 23 laps here at Nurburgring Grand Prix. We're going to be at Barcelona next week, and I hope to see y'all there. And I'm going to give it to Josh, and he's going to close us out.
Thank you very much, Austin. For Austin Knight, Marco Barbonera, I am Joshua Lee. We hope to see you next week in Barcelona. But for now, we're saying goodbye from the Nurburgring.